Hey kids, Father Trowbridge here. It's a delight to be with you for this week's Midweek update. I wanted to go over a few things with you today. First, to cover some of our various prayer opportunities that we have within the parish life these days. Next, several topics regarding our reopening for public Mass. That journey from the shelter to our own altar in that safe and gradual reopening. And then finally, to offer some spiritual advice and encouragement for our time as we find ourselves in the middle toward the end of May. So first, a few of our prayer opportunities. I want to thank those who have been participating both online and in person in the various opportunities that we have presented for the parish during this time where we're pretty inconvenienced within our ability to gather. The response has been edifying to see these opportunities being incorporated into your guys' schedules. So I'm so pleased with that, and continue to pray for those who haven't been as well connected over these past many weeks, since mid-March actually. We want their faith to be strong and for them to have their connection to Christ as well. So we're praying for them, obviously. I've been having some pretty good traffic on my daily Facebook Live Rosary. I've been doing that live every morning, 7 days a week at 9:30 a.m. within the month of May. This is in connection to that encouragement from the Holy Father, and within that Catholic tradition of honoring Our Lady in a special manner of closeness and prayer during the month of May. So if you haven't been able to join me, they're all on my Facebook page, so feel free to click through the archive or join me within the coming days. We had our outdoor adoration earlier this week, this past Tuesday, and had a good turnout despite some of the misty weather. I kind of felt like lettuce in the produce aisle at the grocery store, just a little bit of mist all throughout the course of that outdoor prayer. But we did have a good turnout, so thank everybody for coming out for that. And I looked at the weather to schedule our next outdoor adoration opportunity. Today is nice, tomorrow's nice, Friday gets a little overcast, then the rain comes, right? So I'm no meteorologist, but I'd rather not test the dicey forecasts. So what I'd really like to do is offer outdoor adoration on Thursday at 6 p.m. So it's very quick, but it's going to be a sunny day. The percentage for precipitation is in the single-digit percentile, and if we can't go out for several days on account of the rain that's coming, I'd rather do it fast than not do it for another week and a half. Okay, so Thursday at 6 p.m. Outdoor adoration. If you haven't been getting the flock notes, then please reach out to us, and we'll give you a little map of how we've been arranging cars and setting up and using the driving facilities for that. So very good. Confessions. Divine Mercy Sunday was one of the first days that we had made confession available in a long time due to the shutdown. And we heard confessions for hours that day. You know, we didn't have a good opportunity to offer confessions over the course of the end of Lent, which is a very significant inconvenience within our typical tradition of having that available. And then we've been doing a Sunday confession opportunity at 11 a.m. Since then. So May 10th, we had confessions available, had a really good turnout there. May 17th had confessions available from 11 a.m. to 12:30. This was this past Sunday. And we really had very few people this past Sunday. I'm not complaining, obviously. If a priest sits for an hour in the confessional and only has one penitent, it's worth it, because it loosens the grip of the enemy on that soul completely. and forgives them of their sins. So it's totally worth it. So no complaining, but it's a spiritual opportunity for our flock. So if your examination of conscience, if your moments of reflection or self-awareness, if there has just been, patterns of imperfection that you've noticed, and would like to be relieved of that, then please feel free to come by the church from 11 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. on Sunday. So that's a 90-minute time frame. And then as you pull in the driveway, just come right up under the loop, under the canopy, and either myself or Father Tim will be there to hear your confession. Okay, so we really want to make that available to all, and to let you know that it isn't overly crowded, and if you have to wait in line, you get to sit in your car. So not a bad deal, right? Very good. We also have our daily Liturgy of the Word podcast. So I take the readings of the day and some of the prayers from the Mass and incorporate them into a reflection and an opportunity to make a spiritual communion. So that's been very approachable to many, and I've gotten a lot of positive feedback on that. So if you or anyone, if you're interested in that, then please check that out. There's a podcast link on our website homepage. So peterpaulchurchcarey.org is our website, peterpaulchurchcarey.org. And then you can just click, we post those audio files daily, so you can do that. And if you know of somebody who may appreciate that, then feel free to, email them the link for the recording for that day or what have you. So we're just spreading these technological prayer opportunities far and wide, as there is no limitation to them. And then obviously our Sunday Mass opportunity, all day Sunday on our YouTube channel. So continue to be connected. I know that there is a lot of prayer opportunities there. But as a priest who hasn't been in connection with his flock, hasn't been in connection with you as I typically would be, when I'm preaching, I really am preaching to you, right? So the circumstance that we're in, some of the dynamics that are present within our community, state, whatever, I really am trying to kind of open and unlock things for this parish family at St. Peter and Paul. So I don't want to limit the Catholic advantage of all the awesome materials that are out there. So I know there's a lot of excellent prayer opportunities online, so please do that. But if you, quote unquote, attend Mass outside of St. Peter and Paul for the sake of your online Sunday worship, maybe just zip through our YouTube page and check out the homily, right? And see what the message is for that week. So all very important to stay connected, especially within this time. Okay. This next section, I'm going to be doing a bit of reading. So bear with me because I want to be concise, and I don't want to misspeak or to leave out details. Okay. So be patient with my reading. Very good. So our journey to reopening, from the shelter to our altar, the gradual and safe reopening journey. This is what we're on right now. And to assist us in this, we always look to the direction of the bishop, because he essentially gives all of the parishes in his diocese the pattern of response. He does this because he is the official apostolic authority of our region. Some may say, oh, Father, why don't you just make your decisions here and, listen to the bishop, but really just do what you need to do here. That's cute, but it's not my ability to do so, especially within such an irregular time. We really are looking to be consistent with our apostolic successor, to lead you, the faithful, accurately within an irregular time. So on the 15th of May, the parishes of the Diocese of Rockford had received correspondence from the bishop indicating the availability of a guiding document for the reopening of public Mass. This document is called Back in His Presence, and it was given to all priests as a 5-page directive regarding the details for the gradual and safe reopening of public masses. It is the responsibility in receiving this document back in His presence. It is the responsibility of each parish to take these directives and suggestions into account and then draft their own specific guiding documents for each parish. And so, having received that letter on the 15th, on the 16th, I had convened a group that we've named the Reopening Advisory Committee, consisting of myself, 2 staff members, and then a parish volunteer, to begin addressing the topics of our facility layout, our sanitization process and supplies, and then the training for new ministries connected to this transitional reopening process. Okay, so part of the training for our Saints Peter and Paul Reopening Advisory Committee was to participate within a webinar hosted by the Archdiocese of Chicago for the sake of all 6 dioceses in Illinois. Okay, I'm going to take a little sidebar and expound upon that a little bit. Why are all 6 of us dioceses kind of operating together? The Church, in her communication structure, if you will, the Church is understood in kind of several different layers, if you will. If you want to think of like the theological authority between a layperson and Jesus, it's a very quick line to get to Jesus from the pews. So it's the person in the pew, the priest, the bishop, the pope, and Jesus. Nothing in between. So those are the kind of direct lines of authority in that canonical, theological, ecclesiastical manner. There is some other practical structures that the Church uses for communication or for the unity of a nation within a specific country's needs within the life of the Church. So every country has a national bishops' conference, and if you're a bishop in that country, then you're automatically a member. You don't get voted in or out. If you're a bishop, you're in. So we have our National Conference of Catholic Bishops, the United States Conference of Catholic Bishops, the USCCB. I was thinking of the other one in the 80s, the NCCB. So the USCCB is our national conference, and if there's a particular subject or theme or initiative that the Pope wants the United States to engage in, then we're kind of accessed by virtue of the president of the USCCB. But in a case that we're dealing with here, we know that all 6 dioceses in Illinois are under the governance of the state. And of all of the dioceses, were organized under Chicago. That's why it's called an archdiocese. Just like all the dioceses in Wisconsin are organized under Milwaukee. Milwaukee is the archdiocese, but Madison is not. Green Bay is not. Superior is not. Just like Rockford is not. Peoria is not. Joliet is not. Okay? So it's not any actual authority. It's just organizational in that regard. So all 6 dioceses have worked together, and the 6 bishops have been working with the governance of Illinois and with the health officials to try and press them forward more quickly in the reopening process for us. And so one of the things that the 6 bishops had done is presented kind of a summary of guidelines to the state, saying, if we follow these guidelines, can we open more quickly and move in this nature? And they said yes. And so we're moving a little more quickly than if we would have kind of said nothing, done nothing. So we're thankful for that. And from that one document, all 6 dioceses were kind of given direction to move forward. Okay, So then the diocesan, sorry if this is boring, okay, skip ahead 10 seconds, right? So then each diocese took that one document, and that's the one we shared with you, the executive summary. We shared that with you several days ago on Flocknote. We take that document, and then the diocese made the Back in His Presence document. Okay, that's specific to Rockford itself. And then we as a parish kind of use our own facilities and personnel and understanding of our campus to make our guidelines from that. So in that sense, we had a training session through Chicago for all of the state of Illinois, and now we're continuing within our process of moving toward reopening. So one of the resources that our parish's reopening advisory committee is looking to produce is a video of frequently asked questions. So there have been a handful of parishioners who have reached out to me personally or to other members of the staff and have either offered ideas or asked if we could do this or why can't we do that. And they've been very valid questions, and I see those questions coming from two places. Firstly, from the desire to be back at Mass, and the frustration that we can't be back at Mass, and you kind of get the tone, well, why can't we just ... sort of thing. So it's been an inconvenience, but we remember that we're not being held in place against our will. We're being asked by our diocesan shepherd to move in such a way to maintain health among our communities as much as possible. And in this reopening process, we're walking that balance between the public celebration that we desire and the health that we seek to maintain among everyone on campus. So it's a little bit of a tightrope, but we're moving forward because we do recognize that deep desire to be back at the altar and praying with our community. So we want to offer this video to you, which addresses a handful of the frequently asked questions that have been coming to us, and we feel that it'll lend insight into the position that we're in as church today, but also answer directly some of the questions that have been coming to us as well, not just to the people who are asking, but as a resource to the entire parish. And so we're going to be getting that out to you as soon as possible, hopefully within the next week or so. The video, when produced, will be available on YouTube, and we'll announce it through Flocknote. Okay. Just so you know what happens when your ideas do come to us. So some parishioners reach out with ideas or questions, and when you make a suggestion to me, Father, why can't we, couldn't we, etc., I have to filter it through the directives that I've received from the diocese, and because the undertaking of every detail is a bit much for one person, one brain, then I'm comparing it to the guidelines that we're currently composing with our reopening advisory committee. That being said, when you reach out in that regard, it would be irresponsible for me in the moment to give you an answer regarding your inquiry or idea within a few minutes, and maybe even within the day. So I think the FAQ video, frequently asked question video, is a way in which I'm looking to answer a number of those questions. But yeah. So just so you know, I'm not ignoring you in any way, but there's it's a big process, and so a lot of times I just can't answer it on the spot. Right? Very good. Very good. So our next stage of offering public Mass will occur wherein a maximum of 10 people can attend the Mass. So this 10 count of those attending Mass will not include the priest and will not include the ministers assisting with the Mass. this is one of the kind of the 10-person tweak negotiations that we made with the state of Illinois, is that we can, have a little bit more than 10 if we don't count the ministers within that 10 count. So we'll probably be looking at about 15 or 16 in the church and involved with Mass. So it's just a little bit, but it's a little more, you know what I'm saying? So we're pressing where we can and patient where we must be, okay? Before we can open the doors for Mass in this manner, we as a parish need to indicate to the diocese that we have a specified plan in place at our parish and that we have accomplished all the manners, all the elements of volunteer training, both for our clergy and for our liturgical ministries at the Mass. And so there's a checklist that the diocese offers the parishes. Once we have all that fulfilled and we kind of submit our guiding documents to them, then they approve it. That'll be a very quick process, and then we can be given permission to open for public Mass. So let me get back to my spot. Okay, so the reopening advisory committee, we've been meeting very quickly to accomplish the tasks that the diocese has given us. So from the time that we received the Back in His Presence document, we've been meeting several hours each day since the 16th of May. And that's, for myself, it's been in addition to everything else that's kind of on our plate in this time, especially those financial issues that we're looking to calculate through and continue to be informed upon as well. So so we've been working hard to accomplish this, and today was actually a very productive day where we crested the peak of the mountain of all of the kind of documentation and organizational pieces for volunteers and roles and scheduling and things of this nature. So now we just have to finalize and populate our documents and get our training nailed down. So we're making great progress in that regard. So what we're kind of doing next is finalizing our guide documents for our liturgical ministers, but then also recruiting some volunteers for our new liturgical ministries. So they'll be entirely new from all of our past ministry volunteers because of the unique transitional needs within this time, which do not reflect how Mass looked the first week in March, if you will. Okay, so one of the things that we wanted to extend, if you're interested in being a liturgical minister assisting with the Mass, we have about 4 or 5 different positions for every daily Mass and about 5 or 6 for every weekend Mass. Then please reach out to the parish by way of email. There's a new email that we've had that's connected to this reopening process. So it's reopen@ssppcarry.org. So if you've ever emailed a staff member, then you know that the ssppcarry.org is our kind of email domain. So reopen@ssppcarry.org, and we'll follow up with you very quickly. One of the restrictions that the diocese has asked us to observe is connected to one of the at-risk groups that we've, our mind has been on throughout the course of this entire process. And so the diocese has asked that we not have volunteers who are over the age of 65 in these volunteer ministry positions. And I know that so many of you are gracious and are very generous with your time in this way. But right now, we've been asked to not bring you into a high contact position. You can certainly attend Mass when that time comes, but we would ask that the 65 and over crew, which is quite a bit in the parish, not be on a formal liturgical ministry volunteer position at this time. So we're really trying to do the best that we can to maintain a lower risk within our getting together, and that was one of the things that they we're really kind of consistently passionate and concerned about as we reopen. So yeah, I know that's not easy because so many of you are so generous with your time. Let's see. When we do open up for public Mass, we will spend a few days reaching out to a select group of parishioners and have them participate in some of our first Masses that we hold. I mean, it's 10 attendees per Mass, so we have approximately 1,600 or so who attend Mass regularly on a given Sunday, and to have that be reduced to 10 people is a logistical difficulty, to say the least. But we have a little plan in place. We'll communicate those details as time comes closer. But our first few Masses, just to verify that our volunteers feel comfortable in their position and to kind of get into a nice rhythm. And then some of our more regular parishioners who are connected with our daily Mass and some of our higher levels of involvement, we'll have them be a part of the first few Masses so they can give us feedback, so that when we open the 10-person Mass opportunity up for the entire parish, that it's a more prayerful experience. There's not as many distractions. We pray within the context of that celebration. So we're just trying to think of ways to make it as kind of smooth and as appropriate as possible. Let's see. Okay, I know that some of the things that I've just shared can stir up a lot of practical questions. The closer we get to the public Mass, we'll send you more detailed information via Flocknote. Again, if you're not on Flocknote and you'd like to be, please visit the link on our homepage scrolling banner right on that homepage there. And if you need assistance with this, you can email us at reopen@sspcarry.org. Very good. Okay. The next step. So we haven't opened up for 10-person Mass yet, but we know that that's just a transitional period, and then there's a step after that. A lot of questions have been asked about that, so I think it'd be good to let you know kind of where the conversations are that I've heard, so that we can kind of get our prayer rolling, so we can kind of reopen more quickly, more safely, right? So I know it's a few steps away, but what does the next stage look like after the 10-person Mass? So there's two things that I've been hearing within conversations. First, let me say nothing's been formally declared, okay? So these are just different models of reopening that we have heard of. Very good. The first is an increase from 10 attendees at Mass to 50. And this is something I think we've heard initially through the state of Illinois. But there's been additional conversation as well, indicating that there could be an opportunity for us to increase from 10% or from 10-person attendance at Mass to 20% maximum occupancy of a given facility. So we just refreshed all of our numbers with the fire inspector here in Cary, so we're up to date so that we have the maximum number of 20% maximum that we could have in the parish, which is pretty close to some of our kind of lower attended weekend Masses, just under 200. So what we want to do then is to recognize that these are two different models that are being looked at, and that wisdom would indicate to us that we should be practically prepared for one or the other to be probably in place. So those are the two options that we're kind of looking at. I don't have any say in that. That'll come down from the bishops in the state. But we should be mentally and emotionally prepared for either one of those being our next step after the 10-person Mass. So whatever the case may be, we'll take it one step at a time. We're all in this together, and we should not let other practical frustrations overwhelm us. but we must be patient and look to what's in front of us and be grateful for the gifts that we do have. Okay. Let's see. One of the questions is, how quickly can we kind of get back to the public Mass? A date that was shared was the 25th of May. I don't think where we're at in our preparation process we'll be able to hit that date. We have been working expediently and daily and voluminously, but there isn't a need. Well, these are volunteers, right? And we're working together, and our team is working very hard, and I'm very grateful for what they're doing, and we're making great progress. So we'll share with you when we can kind of open up the doors in that regard, but we do have to get our approval from the bishop's office first, making sure all of our guidelines are in place. So we're kind of rounding third base on many of those things right now. Okay. While we are offering our 10-person Mass opportunity, both for daily Masses and for the weekend, we will still be producing all of our online content. So none of that is going to diminish over the course of our time in that way. Also, during this time, the dispensation from the Sunday obligation to attend Mass is still in place for the Catholic faithful until the bishop formally announces its re-implementation. So just to be attentive to that, though Mass is being celebrated because of the restrictions of numbers, the third commandment obligation is not being imposed right now because of the circumstance which we're in. Okay. Okay, our final point, a little bit of spiritual encouragement, okay? First, grace builds on nature. And so we as Catholics are very practically minded within our spiritual journey. We know that foundational elements of life have to be in place before some of the spiritual elements can grow in that regard, right? So in this respect, we want to be aware of the entirety of our earthly life situation and demand, and our spiritual life situation and aspiration. Okay, so what this requires of us is an awareness on an earthly and a heavenly level, and a patience in the bringing together of all of those elements. Okay, so practically speaking, what we do is we keep in mind several things. We keep in mind that we're getting a little fatigued with our shelter in place. We do have some nice sunny days which make things a little easier, but then we have some of the crummy ones that kind of keep us pinned in a little bit longer. But we want to get out. We want to go to our places. We want to go to our restaurants. We want to see our friends. We want to be with them. So we're getting getting a little restless in that regard. So practically speaking, we want to keep that in mind, because it is a real thing for us, and can be a bit frustrating. Secondly, there is kind of a growing awareness of some of the political dynamics that are emerging within this time, and some of the worldview, constitutional, economic situations that are kind of coming more to the foreground. There's more kind of theories of political right and left, and what one side's trying to do to the other, and et cetera, et cetera. The more that the politicization of this time increases, the greater the ability for us to become frustrated in a partisan manner, because, as I'm aware, and I'm sure you are too, people typically aren't neutral when it comes to political opinions, right? We're just more or less quiet about it in that regard. So because those voices are getting louder, that contributes to a layer of frustration or concern or anger. And so that's also a foundational reality for us to maintain an awareness of. If you notice that you're kind of really getting, caught up into that frustration, then turn off the news for a bit, okay? Maybe limit yourself to a half an hour a day or something like that. There was a parishioner I had when I was back in DeKalb. Love the gentleman. He's still in my thoughts and prayers, delightful soul, but he would always come up with a political rant after daily mass. And I asked his wife, how often does he watch the news? Oh, like 7-8 hours a day. And I'm like, buddy, turn off the news. You're killing yourself. Go say a prayer, okay? Very good. All right, so those are some practical things just to be concerned about. So if those things are disruptive to us, then some of the elements of our faith are going to be kind of characterized by that angstiness, by that frustration, by that anxiety, by that concern. So we have to have a balance within our regular earthly life and what we're kind of encountering on our day-to-day, to give ourselves a solid foundation to pray from and to pray with. Practically speaking, in a spiritual sense, our morning opportunity for prayer is a thermostat that helps us set the temperature to our day. Even if you wake up on the wrong side of the bed, those few moments of prayer in the morning help us to calibrate our unity with Christ and set a heavenly peace within our soul, so that we can move forward more balanced and more faithful throughout the course of the day. So keep that daily prayer as part of our regimen. Because we're in a new and unique situation, the enemy has new toys to play with to mess with us on a daily basis. And so, look at some of the new ways that you're being tempted, or that you're being frustrated, or things that are kind of getting under your skin, okay? The enemy wants to rob us of our joy. He wants to encroach upon our peace of soul, our tranquility of spirit. The enemy wants to increase our anxieties and fears, and anxieties and fears will challenge our stability of faith, right? So whenever we have that consternation, rising up, we want to meet that with a practical balance and with the assurance of faith. The Lord will provide. He will see us through. One of my main prayer intentions for those families facing economic hardships is asking our Lord to provide for them an understanding of how to take the next steps to move through this financially difficult situation. Financial hardship is a very intimidating and stress-inducing situation, but we remember that our Lord is with us. He will see us through. Let us calm and connect, and then move in those next practical steps to address the situation that we're in, okay? That peaceful spirit gives us a balance, and many times frees our imagination and creativity to see what options are available to us in difficult times. Another thing the enemy likes to do is to promote division among the members of our family and our neighbors. So if certain people are, getting under your skin, or things are a little stressful at home, know that, the enemy's kind of working, in those situations. So, take a deep breath, remind yourself of the way in which you seek to be in connection with your spouse, in connection with your children, and strive to be that agent of peace and of charity as our Lord has asked us to be. So these are some spiritual pitfalls that are set out in front of us. And so let us be positive within this time. We're all clear on the inconveniences, but toiling in that mire doesn't help us. Let us look to the blessings that we have. Let us look to the positive steps that we're taking. Let us be patient within our frustrations, and let us be continually connected to the life of God in all things. Stay close to Mary through the Rosary. She is the Queen of Peace, and she brings us to her Son who is the Prince of Peace, and we really do need that tranquility of spirit, especially within these difficult times. Stay tuned for more information regarding reopening and status and things and progress in the parish. Know of my prayers. Know that I miss seeing you guys on campus. Look forward to praying with you again soon. And remember, outdoor adoration Thursday at 6 p.m. And we'll keep walking this road together. Okay? Have a great day. God bless. And we'll see you soon. Saints Peter and Paul, pray for us.